I thank him for his leadership and support of DHS. I thank you for listening, and I look forward to your questions. Sure.
Maybe for some context, could you compare what the president is contemplating with what President Bush did, 6,000 National Guard personnel for about a year and a half, Arizona, New Mexico, California. President Obama did about 1,200.
Right.
Is he contemplating something larger than that and something of a longer duration, and how soon do you think, whatever the number is, the deployments will begin?
So let me take the last part first. We do hope that the deployment begins immediately. I will be continuing to have conversations with the governors today. As you know, it's done through a memorandum of agreement, so we're working with all haste to agree on that. So we hope to, we've specified out the missions where we need support. They include everything from aerial surveillance, which, as you know, is part of Operation Phalanx, through to some of the support functions that the Guard was able to do under President Bush in Operation Jumpstart. So we've been very specific state by state, locale by locale, of what CBP believes they need, and then we'll work in conjunction with the governors who are in fact on the front lines to see what they need and work it within the National Guard. But as soon as possible, conversations are ongoing.
And size and duration of
So
deployment?
size and duration, we have not, I don't want to get ahead of the governors. This is a partnership with them. We're giving them the opportunity to review our suggestions of how the National Guard can support the Border Patrol, but as soon as the numbers are available, we'll provide them.
More robust than the Bush deployment?
I think it will be strong. It will be as many as is needed to fill the gaps that we have today, is what I can tell you. So we'll go through and make sure.
Madam Secretary, in terms of the operations that the National Guard will be involved in, Operation Jumpstart specifically prohibited the National Guard from laying hands on immigrants, that they were only in a support capacity to the Border Patrol. Are you thinking of similar rules of engagement, if you will?
We're working with the governors, but we have had that conversation. As you know, it's a partnership under Title 32, so I'm very interested in continuing the conversation with them. To date, what we've discussed are support activities that are very similar to Jumpstart.
So it wouldn't be actual enforcement then?
Correct, as of now. As of now, yes.
The president had also, in a tweet, said that he suggested that he would use some of the military appropriations to fund the construction of the border wall. Does the president have the authority to use money that Congress has appropriated to the Department of Defense to build the border wall?
So it's a good question. I'm only going to sidestep it because I'm not at the Department of Defense and I'm not a lawyer over there. What he meant was there are some lands that the Department of Defense owns that right on the border that are actually areas where we see illicit activity. As part of what DoD does every day in terms of force protection, we're looking into options for the military to build wall on military installations on the border. Other than that, I can't speak to the legality of the question. You went in over here.
Can you give a cost estimate for what this will cost and who will pay for it?
Unfortunately. I think looking at past numbers should be indicative, but it really depends on the very specific mission sets that they'll provide. For example, aerial surveillance, as you know, is done by flight hours. So first we have to translate that into a CONOPS and number of people, and then I can tell you how much those people will cost. So we're working that real time.
Do you need congressional approval for any of that?
To activate the Guard under Title 32, no, we do not. But we will do it in conjunction with the governors.
Madam Secretary, how much wall can you build with the money that you currently have?
So the currently appropriated will build about 150 miles.
The $1.6 billion
So
from
that's
the
for
omnibus?
17 and 18 together, yes. And we have started building, as you know, so we're building real time in Clexia.
So new wall. How much new wall have we built to this point?
So here, this is an important question. To us, it's all new wall. If there was a wall before that needs to be replaced, it's being replaced by a new wall. So this is the Trump border wall. In many cases, it will.
Replacing current wall would count as new wall in your words.
Yes, it would.
And then how much will it cost to complete the entirety of the wall that you desire?
So we are, the Border Patrol, as you know, has submitted a very specific plan to Congress where we need the wall, what type of wall we need. We finished evaluating all the prototypes. We have a toolkit, if you will. Some of the parts of the border are very different. In one place, we even have a wall that almost floats with the sand, if you will, because of the conditions there. In other places, we'll have taller walls, again, depending. Some places we have levees to do dual purpose. So we're continuing to work it out based on the funding that we have and what we've learned from the prototypes. We should have much better estimates soon.
So we don't have a total ticket price at this time. It's still unclear what you think it will cost.
We have the down payments. We're working with Congress real time to let them know what additional funds we need for what.
Madam Secretary,
Over here.
I was wondering, I'm not sure I understand what the urgency for this is. It seems like it ramped up, just over the last several days and since the weekend, in fact. The House is not here, the Senate is not here. Why is this such an urgent priority right now for the president to sign?
I think, what I would say is the numbers continue to increase. April traditionally is a month in which we see more folks crossing the border without a legal right to do so. So partly it's modeling, partly it's anticipating. We are seeing more and more advertising, and very unfortunately by the traffickers and smugglers to our south, specific to how to get around our system and enter our country and stay. We have documented cases of borrowing children, appearing at the border as a family unit in a fraudulent way. So why today, not yesterday, tomorrow? Today is the day. Today's the day we want to start this process. The threat is real, as I mentioned.
But why not last year? I mean, what responsibility does the White House or the department have for not urging Congress to do something more permanent rather than having National Guard troops down there who are, stretched thin already in their own states?
No,
Why now
thank.
on this?
Yeah, no,
Problems were in place.
it's a great question, and I appreciate the opportunity to clarify. We do want Congress to act. We had been hopeful that we would be able to agree on a bipartisan bill. The president, as you know, supported 2 of the 4 that were offered on the floor this last go-round. So what we were trying to do is give Congress an opportunity to act. That has not gotten us where we need to be in terms of enforcing the law. So we're taking what actions we can as an executive branch and hope that we can soon again start the conversation with Congress. Yes.
You said that you hope deployment begins immediately, but what exactly does that mean? I mean, does that mean
Yeah.
that troops could be heading to the border as soon as tonight?
It does mean that, but what it also means is we will do it in conjunction with the governors. I want to be very clear. This is Title 32, so the governors retain control of the National Guard within their region. So I'm not going to get ahead of them. The ones that I have spoken to understand our urgency, our request. The National Guard understands the urgency and the request, so we will do it as expeditiously as possible. But it is an MOA process, so we're working through that real time. Yes.
Just to follow up with Jeff's question, because this is the 440th day of the Trump administration. You talk about the urgency, you talk about it being April, but there's been a lot of speculation in the country that this might have something to do with something the president saw on television on Sunday morning, or it might have something to do with the fact that the president wants to shore up support amongst his political base. Can you speak to that speculation? Is it true?
I think what is true is the president is frustrated. He has been very clear that he wants to secure our border. He's been very clear that he wants to do that in a bipartisan way with Congress. I think what you're seeing is the president taking his job very seriously in terms of securing our border and doing everything we can without Congress to do just that. But I do hope as soon as Congress comes back that I can work with them.
For how long have you been working on this plan? For how long have you personally been?
It's always on the table. It's been done before, as you know. So it's not a new concept. It's nothing new. It's one of many things that we have looked at. We're in continuing conversations with the governors. This is a partnership, as you know. It's not new. We're just walking through all of the things that we can do. I listed some of the ones that we have done. We can provide you others. Last one.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. You spoke of DACA and similar programs as a magnet, and the president has made similar arguments. That same argument was made against the Gang of 8 bill some years back. Can you describe what sort of immigration bill that covers people who are here without papers would be acceptable and would not be a magnet, or is the only bill that would be not a magnet simply one that restricts immigration?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I don't think it's the bill per se. I think it's in some cases it's that the bill wasn't passed. So all of that uncertainty gives the conversation wings in the south of us. Hurry and get here now because nothing's.
But at the time, Republicans who opposed the bill said that passing this bill will cause a wave of people coming to take advantage of it. And the president made a similar argument about DACA, even though people who arrive now aren't eligible for it. And you just made a similar argument about similar programs. So what, other than a bill that is only restricting immigration, do you think wouldn't be a magnet? Because every time
Border security. I'm trying to be flip, but that's how the two go together. The problem with doing any of them in a vacuum is we continue the problem. We want a permanent solution.
Not to be difficult, but every time this issue comes up, and every time there is any sort of method where whether it's administratively or legislatively, attempted to address this problem, the same people every time said it's going to be a magnet. People are going to flood the borders trying to take advantage of it. And so I'm just curious, if that's constantly a problem every time this issue comes up, then how can you entertain any kind of comprehensive immigration bill?
I understand the question. What I would say is if we put together a package and then we pass it, the conversation's over. Though for this tranche, those are those who will receive some sort of permanent status. That's what the president's been very clear on.
Rejected one this year.
He also favored two bipartisan bills, but I think what he's been clear on is he will not do half measures. We have to stop the actual pull. We have to have the ability to remove when we interdict. He's been very clear and very strong on this. If we passed a bill that did not do either of those things, that would be a pull factor. So what we're trying to do is do them in conjunction. There's some people here that we've all talked about giving permanent status to, but at the same time, we have to close these loopholes so that when we do that, we don't pull up another huge population who are being told by the smugglers, go now, go now, go now. It's not how it's going to work anymore. I really thank you all for your time. I think, Sarah's, but please let us know, Sarah know. We'll continue to give you details as we get them. But thank you for your time.
Thank you.